On BBC Local Radio in Shropshire, South Cheshire, North Staffordshire, the West Midlands, Worcestershire and Herefordshire. You're listening to The Gruesome Twosome. Mike Adams and Chris Savoury on the show that values your vinyls. It's The Record Collectors between now and 9 tonight.
Well, our guest tonight is the man who started rock and roll. No two ways about it. Here we are on the backstage in Yorkshire talking to the one and only, the guitar that literally changed the world, Scotty. Welcome to England on your very first visit here.
Thank you, Mike, but I don't really wish you'd take that label off that I started it all.
Well, I think historically, one has to say, except for perhaps Rocket 88, and what Sam was doing around about 1950, the first rock and roll riffs or rockabilly riffs that anyone's identified are the ones that you put down on tape.
I suppose so. I'll fess up.
Before you met Elvis Presley, you were working with the Burnett brothers. That was Johnny and Dorsey Burnett.
Well, I was putting together a band in Memphis, and during a several month period, I used different people, and finally settled in on 5 or 6 guys and called ourselves the Starlight Wranglers. And but during that period, there was just different musicians around Memphis that worked with me.
Can you remember your very early influences? Because no guitar ever sounded like your guitar before.
I'd listen to anything that had a guitar on it. It'd be rhythm and blues, country, jazz. Always loved jazz. I still do. I wish I could have had a chance to really gotten into it. But, working the road, you get into a rut playing the same songs, and just kind of got like I said, in a rut.
And you were working with Johnny Burnett before Elvis Presley. Were you playing gigs together?
No, he was playing a couple of gigs with me.
Right.
Johnny and his brother Dorsey. And they were just beginning to play a little around Memphis. And like I said, back in those days, one person would go out and get a job, and then go get a band, put it together. It might be a washboard or a tin can, no telling what, saxophone, steel, fiddle, just whoever you could get, to do it.
So much mystery has surrounded the very early Sun recordings of like Tennessee Saturday Night recordings and other ones which have yet to come to light. That memorable day when you were asked by Sam Phillips to give your opinion of Presley, in a way, it was your opinion that decided his recording career. Can you remember your first recollections of just that first day you met Elvis and he started to sing?
Well, he came to my house, and for that reason, Sam wanted me just to get him to come over and just see what I thought about his voice and so forth. And he, I guess he was there maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, sang a little bit of everything. There again, country, pop, some rhythm and blues. And I called Sam, told him, I said, boy, he's got a good voice. He doesn't knock me out, but if you can find the right material, blah, blah, that probably do okay. And that's basically the way it started.
Now, the day you started fooling around in the studios and you did That's All Right Mama, the Arthur Big Boy Crudup number, you were well acquainted with that song, were you?
No, I wasn't really. That was an audition. That's the only reason there was only two musicians. After Elvis was at my house on Sunday, Sam called him, told me he would call Elvis and get him to come in. He said, why don't you and Bill come in, just do a little bit of background for him so I can see what he sounds like on tape. And we all know what happened from that. But it was an audition. It wasn't a record session, or we didn't go in to cut a record.
Whose idea was it then to cut that track, That's All Right Mama? Was it Elvis horsing around?
Elvis was horsing around, and during a break we'd ran through several songs, and I put 2 or 3 on tape, and he just started singing it and jumping around, just having a good time, just releasing tension. And Bill Black picked up the bass and basically was doing the same thing. I picked up the guitar and tried to find out what key it was in, and about the time I was all just kind of vamping and just having a good time, and the control room door was open, and Sam came through it and said, "What are y'all doing?" We said, "We don't know, we're just goofing around." And he said, "Well, goof around a little more, and let's put it on tape and see what it sounds like."
And this is what it sounded like. And that was Scotty and Bill and Elvis, and That's All Right Mama from an original Sun tape. Were there any other songs recorded that day?
No, I don't. We may have run through a couple of things earlier. Whether we put them on tape, I don't remember. But after we did that, then it was kind of a thing of, well, if we're going to do a record, if this is a record, we've got to find something to put on the other side. And I can't tell you now if it was a day later, 2-3 days later. The same thing happened basically with Blue Moon in Kentucky, only this time it was Bill doing the goofing around. He picked up his bass and started slapping it and emulating Bill Monroe in the high falsetto voice. And Elvis joined in, and the whole thing happened again.
Your guitar riffs, I remember on Too Much, it was almost like rock psychedelic. On Too Much, it was almost like rock psychedelia. And I know it's not one of your favorite tracks, and that's a few years ahead of that. But it's, you filled in there. You were like creating the notes as you went along.
No, I was lost. It was pure and simple. We had gone through the song 2 or 3 times, and had basically all my solos other than basic bass runs or something were all ad-lib. And on this particular one, this particular cut, I got lost. We did the song a couple more times after that, but Elvis came back and picked that cut because the overall feel was there.
You decided you were really like the level-headed one amongst the three of you, and you sort of took over, if I can say, the management for a while, didn't you? You sort of the bookings and so on.
Yes, but the management part was contrived. There were some local bookers that, after the first record was on the radio and it started getting a little airplay, they started trying to get the Elvis to talk to him about signing management and booking contracts and so forth, and he didn't know what to say to him. And so Elvis, Sam, and myself one day were talking about it, and it was Sam's idea. He just said, "I'll tell you what," said just sign a contract with Scotty, and said that way you won't have to lie. You can say you're under contract, and they won't bother you. And that's what that was all about.
What was your favourite recording from the Sun period? I mean, of all the early Sun sessions that you did, have you any particular favourite that you liked?
Oh, I guess Mystery Train probably. That's All Right Mama. They were all fun doing.
But Mystery Train because of the riffs in it, do you think?
Probably just the rhythm feel of it.
Well, especially for you, Scotty. Yeah. Here is Mystery Train. And that was on lead guitar, the legendary Scotty Moore, and that was Mystery Train featuring Elvis Presley with, of course, the late, great Bill Black. We're talking to Scotty Moore, the man who invented the rock and roll guitar. Moving ahead from the Sun period, which, of course, is always shrouded in mystery, but we'll go forward to your sessions with RCA. Big difference working RCA. A lot of purists feel that the Sun period was the period, but there's some great tracks cut through the 56, 57. What are your feelings about working at RCA at that time?
Oh, it was a little different, but I mean, we were still after the same thing. Their engineers handled sound a little different, and for instance, Heartbreak Hotel, the real heavy room echo, We were used to the tape reverb, the slap. We started adding a little more background, rhythm guitar, piano, and then, of course, the background voices. Sam, whether he was doing it on knowingly or not, or just reaching out for a total sound, kept Elvis's voice real close to the music. He treated it like another instrument. And as the time went on, had more musicians, and but it was, it was just a job. It was a challenge.
What are any memories that you have of those sort of early RCA sessions? Any humorous periods that come springing to mind, or songs that maybe were lost?
I can't think of any. We probably some humorous things on every session, but I don't recall them right now.
What was it like working with Bill Black? I mean, Bill Black went on to go on to High Records, didn't he? And he had great success in his own right, as you did, of course. When Elvis in the Army, you went and did your own thing quite successfully. But and later, of course, you made that great record, which was The Guitar That Changed the World, back in 1963-64. But just going back to that era, just that period then, Bill Black and yourself, I mean, were you very close?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we were very close. And we had worked together quite some time before we met Elvis. And, in fact, just lived a few doors from each other. And I think had common goals. We all wanted to get a group together that stayed together and get away from this weekend we've got this bunch, next weekend is a different bunch, and no, Bill was a great guy.
If you had to choose one more track of all the records that you've been on, what would you choose as being the thing that you feel happiest about?
Playing wise? No, I couldn't pull one up.
Well, have you got a favourite track that you've worked on with Elvis?
My favorite song is Don't. I've always loved that.
And here is Elvis Presley's and Scotty Moore and Don't. And that was Elvis Presley and Scotty Moore with Don't. One last question. Are you intending to come back to Britain?
Well, if I survive this, I probably will.
I mean, it's your first visit, and you're all over the show, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been over 20 years since I, other than maybe picking up the guitar around the house for a few minutes, and doing these one-nighters that we're doing right now it's kind of like a out-of-body experience. I'm out there looking back at the very early days.
Memorable.
Oh, it's like, for instance, today, with the bus breaking down, it brings it all back.
Are there any songs, do you think, left in the bottom of the barrel that haven't yet been released at all of Elvis? That you must have seen all the compilations come out. Is there anything left, do you think, that hasn't seen the light of day that you can recall?
There might be a 1, 2, 3, 4 somewhere that I just don't know.
But you can't recall?
No.
Can I say on behalf of all our listeners, and to our younger listeners, Scotty Moore was the man who invented the rock and roll guitar. And for all those that walked after you, particularly in England, we say our sincere thanks, Scotty.
Thank you, Mike, and it's been a pleasure being here with you.
That was Scotty Moore.